All right, guys, so this is our next offensive set. As I mentioned before, we have 3 primary sets that you need to put in place before any game. This set is against a 2-3 zone, right? Essentially with an offense, if whatever defense they have, we have an answer offensively, right? So if they have a 2-3 zone, this is Finesse Basketball's answer to a 2-3 zone. There's other kind of sets that you can use against a 2-3 zone, but this one is super simple, just to kind of break it down. Okay, so it's called runner, and there's a reason why it's called runners. What's going to happen is runners is really important because what's happening is you're positioning your offensive pieces to attack the gaps. Okay, and in every single zone you can imagine, whether it's a full court zone, a half court zone, it literally does not matter. The weak spot to every single zone is the middle spot. So you always want to have a player there that always has their hands up at all times, and you want to be able to make sure players are aware. Okay. Now, what's super important is the 2 wing players. They're positioned on the free throw line extended, right? We do not want them above that because they're not in an attack position or shooting position. We do not want them below that position because then they're going to be too close to the runner. It's very important that they're in these positions because it allows them to be perfectly spaced out, right? Because now what happens is, let's say the ball gets swung to this guy on the wing, right? What's going to happen is the runner, so the ball gets swung here, this guy's going to have to make a decision, right? He's going to have to either guard this guy or guard this guy. But let's start it off with the person with the basketball, okay? His primary objective, right, is not to pass to one of these 2 guys immediately. The reason why I say that because the distance of this pass is 2 passes away, right? Versus the distance of, let's say, the middle guy to the wing. If this guy's at the elbow or even in the middle, this distance is about 1 pass away. This is 2 passes away. Why is that important? Because in any offense, we never want to pass where the distance is 2 passes away unless it's in a fast break. Because it makes it very susceptible to steals and turnovers, right? This guy's first job is to attack one of these defenders or at least engage them. So you can zoom out, Praveen, for a second. Right, so he's going to have 2 defenders in front of him. Right, he has to attack preferably one of the weaker defenders, right? Because if he's attacking, let's say this guy's the weaker defender, if he can beat him off the dribble, that's exactly what we want, right? Because now when he gets to the key, right, it's pretty much like a 4-on-3, right? A 4-on-3 or even a 5-on-3 in that situation, right? So we want to attack this guy, but most times that's not going to be the thing that we're going to get. But if we have a dynamic point guard, we wanted to always attack this with the idea of beating this man off the dribble, right? In our actions, we do have a couple actions, not to complicate it. We have pick and roll in runner, and we have handoff in runner. If we really wanted to, this guy could call pick and roll. He could call a screen on the backside of this defender, and then he comes off of it, and then the big man rolls, right? But that's just a variation. But what happens is, once he engages one of these this defender, what is he doing? He's forcing this defender to have to guard. So if he attacks this defender, he's forcing this defender to have to guard, okay? So now, if this defender is guarding him, so let's say we redraw it here, he's right here. Can he guard the basketball and still guard this guy at the same time? Yes or no? No, he can't. So now the really cool part about this is, right, what happens with this guy is he has to make a decision. So the runner, so just to show you guys, right? Hold on. The runner is always in line with the basketball. That's why it's called runner. The guy he's behind these defenders. He's on the baseline. He's always behind the basketball. So if the basketball is here, the runner is here. If the basketball is on the wing, for example, let's say this guy picks up. The defender picks up right here, right? Then this offensive player, he's at the short corner, okay? If he's a good shooter, we can space him out to the 3-point line, but really we want him in the short corner. So let's say the ball, this guy has to make a decision. He has to make a decision, okay? Once this guy catches the basketball, 9 times out of 10, this guy's going to be wide open for a 3, We don't, if we have we want to be able to position really good shooters in this position, right? But the biggest thing is on any set, in any offense, we want to score 90% of our points in the house, right? Because if you're shooting a three, you're giving the defense exactly what they want. So let's see this. If this guy decides to guard this guy right here, then guess what happens, right? That means this guy is open, your runner is open, right? We can move the basketball here, right? This guy defends. Now what happens is this guy has two options. The big right now, whenever the basketball is on the wing, he has to be at the elbow or just below the elbow right here. If the ball is in the center, he's right here at the nail. If the ball's in the center, our big man is right here on the nail. If it's on the other side, he's on the other side elbow in terms of our big, right? He's like a runner, but he doesn't go as far, right? And now if the ball gets swung here, and this guy has the basketball, he has two options, okay? Because this guy is now guarding him. This big man has to make a decision. I either guard this short corner guy, or I either guard this big man, okay? Because now at this point the defense has shifted, okay? Let's say this big man decides to guard here, right? What's going to happen is I want this guy here on offense to swing it to the short corner. This is usually a bounce pass, right? Once the short corner gets it, his objective is to attack the rim. We don't want mid-range jumpers. We want him to attack the rim. If he catches the basketball, then our big man is going to dive to the rim. He's going to dive to the rim, right? Vice versa. Let's say our wing catches the basketball and he decides to give it to the big man right here, which is amazing. We always want to get the basketball. We always want to get the basketball in the key, which we also know as the house. If we catch it, if we give it to the big man, then now our short corner, he's diving to the block. This is an easy high-low pass, bucket. It's that simple, right? So if the ball's here, we want to kick it to the either the high post, or we want to bounce pass it to the short corner. Short corner gets it, big dives, big man catches it, then the short corner dives. And that's essentially a runner. Now, the really cool thing with runner is again, we want a very dynamic point guard in this position, okay? Let's say the point guard, he attacks this guy, right? And then he gets him to engage, and then he kicks the basketball to here. Right, now we're going to shift the defense. So now where would the defense be in this position? We got a big man right here. We got the short corner right here. Right, so the defense has shifted, okay? So most likely what's going to happen is this defender's got to shift over here. He's going to push this guy down. This guy's going to try to drop. This guy's going to try to play the middle. The other guy is going to be right here. And then this big man, he should be right here on the opposite side block, okay? So now what's really cool is once the point guard kicks it to the wing, his job is to stay right here, right in the slot, just above, right? This guy is guaranteed going to have one of these options, but he has to make the decision quickly before this defender bumps his teammate, right? He has to make the decision quickly, but let's just say he doesn't make the decision quickly. Here's the cool thing. He can kick it back to the point guard, and guess what happens? Right? We got the defender right here. As soon as this happens, and this is where the cool pick and roll happens, if he kicks it back to here, let's kick it, he has the basketball, our big man can now go and set a screen, this guy comes off of it, the big man rolls. And here's the cool thing, right? Let's say the big man is rolling, he's always diving opposite. What happens to the runner? The runner is always in line with the basketball. So as the basketball is going downhill, the runner's also in line with him vertically. So if he's attacking this way, you're gonna have the runner is gonna be right here. This guy's obviously he shouldn't be doing a looping drive. Once we come off the screen, we're attacking straight. He has the rim attack, and then he has his big man rolling right here. So you're putting them in a triangle, and then you can obviously kick it to which one of your teammates if they want to shoot three, right? But the last thing that I want to demonstrate in runner, which is actually super important, right, is now, can our wing players drive the basketball? Can our wing players drive the basketball? And the answer is absolutely yes. The only thing is, once they do drive, that means they have to essentially replace the runner. Okay, so how that looks is this. Okay, this guy drives it, he attacks one of these two. We got this wing, we got the wing here, they have to stay ready to shoot the basketball at all times. And we want our best shooters here, and we want one of our best drivers and playmakers right here. Okay? Now what happens is, let's say the runner is here, the big man is right here, just below the elbow. So he's below this defender here. If this guy says, you know what, I want to attack this, basically he's going to drive it hard baseline. The runner is going to clear out to the same side corner, and then he's going to come up to the free throw line. And then if this guy drives it, if he gets a layup, he gets a layup. If he doesn't and he ends up kicking out, then basically this guy right here, he becomes the new runner. And then this guy that was once here, he now becomes a new wing player. And they essentially stay like that only for that particular set. So for that particular set. So anytime one of these guys drives, strong side, the short corner clears. If he scores, he scores. If he kicks it, then he now becomes the runner, just for that particular set. So anytime a person drives, they become the runner. Why is this play so important? Right? Because a lot of teams, they cannot defend one-on-one. So they love using the 2-3, right? Which is important to note, right? But let's just say, just to quickly note, if they decide to extend this defense further out, let's say they want to do a high 2-3, bang, 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 bang. They want to run a high 2-3. Then, of course, to support our teammate who's right here, the same principles apply. He has to engage one of these. He doesn't have to go right to him, but he just has to dribble at him to and force him to guard. What's going to happen with the guy's free throw line extended if it's a high 2-3? Do we want him staying free throw line extended? Absolutely not, because they're not in position, right, to receive. This guy doesn't have an angle to pass. If he tries to pass it to you, this is getting stolen every single time. Instead, what's going to happen is these two guys are going to come up a little bit higher to have that angle, right here. This guy's going to come up a little bit higher. We're still below these two guys, so it's still a 45 pass, right? This guy has to engage, and instead of our big man being at the nail, right, he's going to come up instead to the three-point line, right? If he catches it in the middle, he can go downhill. These two guys drop, free throw line extended, and our runner is still in the same position, but he can come up higher, right? So essentially, guys, that is runner. We use it against 2-3s. It is incredibly effective. Of course, it depends on the team that you have, right? But the positions and playing the gaps stays exactly the same, right? But for example, if you have a team where you got a couple, like you got two bigs as opposed to a heavy guard lineup, to keep it simple, you could always do this. You could have the same positions here. If the ball's strong side, you could have two big men. Whenever the ball's in the middle, they're on the block. If the ball goes to one side, opposite block goes to the elbow, and then this guy seals his man. Or if it goes to this side, then this guy goes to the elbow, and this guy seals his man. So essentially, they're using an X. That is a variation. It's not runner, but it is another set that you guys can implement depending on the lineup that you have. Okay? So that's everything.